The year is 2025. We find ourselves at a critical juncture in the fight against climate change. Carbon dioxide emissions, the primary driver of global warming, have reached alarming levels. This demands our urgent attention. Monitoring these emissions is not merely a scientific exercise, it is a vital sign of the planet's health and a stark reminder of the challenges we face. The latest data paints a sobering picture. In 2024, global CO2 emissions hit a record high of 41.6 gigatons. This represents a 2% surge from the previous year, underscoring the urgency for collective action. The implications of this trend are profound and far-reaching, threatening the delicate balance of our planet's ecosystems. This surge in emissions is a wake-up call for governments, businesses, and individuals alike. It is a stark reminder that our current trajectory is not sustainable. The consequences of inaction are too dire to ignore. We must act decisively and collaboratively to curb emissions and mitigate the worst effects of climate change. The time for complacency is long gone. The era of responsible stewardship has arrived. We owe it to ourselves and to future generations to reverse this dangerous trend and forge a more sustainable path forward. The primary culprit behind this surge in emissions is the continued reliance on fossil fuels. Coal, oil and gas, the backbone of our global energy system, are the largest contributors to the problem. In 2024, emissions from coal inched up by 0.2%, oil by 0.9%, and gas by a more substantial 2.4%. While emissions from cement and other industrial processes declined by 2.8%, it hardly offsets the increase from fossil fuels. This highlights the need for a swift and decisive transition to renewable energy sources. Land use change, primarily deforestation, is another significant contributor to CO2 emissions. This is particularly evident in South America, where rampant deforestation, exacerbated by the 2023 to 2024 El Niño event, has led to significant emissions from wildfires. Protecting existing forests and restoring degraded land is crucial in our fight against climate change. Examining regional trends reveals a complex picture. The European Union has made commendable progress, achieving a 3.8% reduction in emissions. The United States also witnessed a slight decrease of 0.6%. However, these positive developments are overshadowed by concerning trends elsewhere. China, the world's largest emitter, saw a slight increase of 0.2%, while India's emissions surged by a worrying 4.6%. The rest of the world, including international shipping and aviation, collectively increased emissions by 1.6%. The implications of these trends are deeply concerning. The year 2024 is projected to be the hottest on record, temporarily reaching 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. This serves as a stark reminder of the shrinking window of opportunity to avert catastrophic climate change. The Paris Agreement, adopted in 2015, aims to limit global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius, preferably to 1.5 degrees Celsius, compared to pre-industrial levels. This target is not arbitrary. It is based on scientific consensus and represents a threshold beyond which the impacts of climate change become increasingly severe and irreversible. The concept of a carbon budget underscores the urgency of the situation. This budget represents the total amount of CO2 that can be emitted while still having a chance of limiting warming to a specific target. At current emission rates, the remaining carbon budget for 1.5 degrees Celsius will be exhausted within a mere 6 years. For 1.7 degrees Celsius, the budget extends to 15 years, and for 2 degrees Celsius, 27 years. These timelines are not distant projections, they are imminent deadlines. The consequences of exceeding the 1.5 degrees Celsius target are significant. We can expect more frequent and intense heat waves, droughts and floods, leading to widespread crop failures and water scarcity. Sea levels will continue to rise, displacing millions of people living in coastal areas. The very fabric of our ecosystems will be irrevocably altered, leading to mass extinctions and biodiversity loss. The social, economic and geopolitical implications of such a scenario are difficult to overstate. Despite the challenges, there are glimmers of hope. The Paris Agreement, despite its limitations, provides a framework for international cooperation. Central to this agreement are nationally determined contributions, where countries set their own targets for reducing emissions. While many countries missed the February 2025 deadline for updating their NDCs, some significant commitments were announced at COP29 in November 2024. The United Kingdom pledged to reduce emissions by at least 81% from 1990 levels by 2035, while the European Union aims for a 55% reduction compared to 1990 levels by 2030. Brazil committed to reducing emissions by up to 67% from 2005 levels by 2030. And the United Arab Emirates set a target of a 47% reduction from 2019 levels by 2030. These commitments, while encouraging, are not enough. Current NDCs are projected to lead to a warming of 2.5 to 2.9 degrees Celsius by 2100, far exceeding the Paris Agreement goals. Alongside emission reductions, enhancing natural carbon sinks is crucial. Oceans and forests act as massive carbon sinks, absorbing significant amounts of CO2 from the atmosphere. However, these sinks are under threat from human activities. Protecting and restoring these natural systems is not just an environmental imperative. It is a critical component of climate change mitigation. The ultimate goal is to achieve net zero emissions, a state where the amount of CO2 released into the atmosphere is balanced by the amount removed. This requires a fundamental shift in our energy systems, transportation networks, industrial processes, and consumption patterns. The transition to a net zero world will require unprecedented levels of innovation, investment, and political will. The task ahead is monumental, but not insurmountable. The record-high CO2 emissions in 2024 serve as a stark reminder of the urgency and scale of the challenge. However, they also highlight the potential for transformative change. By harnessing the power of technology, embracing sustainable practices, and fostering global cooperation, we can chart a course towards a future where both people and the planet can thrive.